How flexible is your wireless security system? The Nooie Pro Cam wants to let you watch anything from anywhere, but can such a compact wireless security cam deliver? I'm James Hertz from MUO, and we're going to check out how the Nooie Pro Cam can handle a variety of life's many scenarios. At first glance, you'll notice that Nooie has again decided to go with a very familiar color aesthetic. For those that previously had Nooie's wireless doorbell cam, you'll notice again they've gone with the default clay or earthen colored tones. Now Nooie does intend to offer different colored sleeves to further match your home, so if you want to wait, there will be a mocha or snow colored sleeve that you can apply to your camera to give more flexibility, especially when mounting it outdoors. Now, when looking at the Nooie Pro Cam, what exactly does it offer? Now, in terms of its sizing, it's around 1.4 by 2.4 by 2.9 inches, and it still weighs under a pound at around 0.4 pounds. In terms of its field of view, it hits 140 degrees, and it offers 2K or Quad HD definition. Now, in terms of what you get further with the camera is it does have infrared night vision as well as spotlight-centric color night vision. Now, for its actual battery capacity, it is 5,000 milliamp hours compared to the 10,000 milliamp hours that was seen in the Nooie doorbell cam, but as you can see with its size, it's considerably smaller. Now, for the actual Wi-Fi bands it supports, it does support both 2.4 gigahertz as well as 5 gigahertz bands, and the storage is still based in the base station with support for micro SD cards up to 128 gigabytes. And for your smart home, it does have Alexa support as well as Google Home. Now, within the Nooie app, let's talk about setup, because when you're adding security cameras to your home, you want to make sure it's a pretty succinct process. Now, after hitting the plus button within the Nooie app, you are going to be prompted to select the Nooie Pro Cam from their camera list, as well as select your base station. Now, if this is your first Nooie Pro Cam, you'll need to set up your first base station, but if you have one already, it will pre-sort between first and second generation base stations. Now, an important note here is that the Nooie Pro Cam only works with Nooie's second generation of base stations, so if you don't have one, you're going to need to purchase it in your initial Nooie Cam purchase. So there will either be a single cam and base station bundle or a two Nooie Pro Cam bundle with a base station. Now, once you have selected your base station and you've selected what band you want the Wi-Fi to go on, you basically follow Nooie's prompts. Overall, it's a very succinct process, and Nooie will guide you every step of the way with easy to follow help directions if you run into any hiccups. Now, in most cases, if there is a hiccup, it can be something like the Nooie Pro Cam does not sync completely with the app once it actually registers the connection with the base station, so it's as simple as going a step back and repeating it until it perfectly syncs. Overall, it's a pretty quick setup process as long as you follow the on-screen app prompts. Now, as previously mentioned, Nooie has introduced an upgrade to their base station. So the second base station does improve connectivity, so if you've used the Nooie doorbell cam and you notice some longer pop-in delay initially when bringing up the camera, this has been improved with the Pro Cam to a degree. Now, other things to keep in mind is this is still your local storage option for your SD card. So if you are wanting to keep your footage securely protected, you can include up to 128 gigabyte SD card with it. Now, also, it does offer an additional 130 feet of Wi-Fi range to your home when added, and there is also the option to connect either wirelessly or via an Ethernet cord. Overall, it's an effective addition, but if you're not a fan of base stations, this is still a possible shortcoming of the Pro Cam for you. Now, let's also revisit the topic of the battery life of the Nooie Pro Cam. As mentioned before, it does have 5,000 milliamp hours, so in most cases it will last sufficiently long. But what you do need to keep in mind with the Nooie Pro Cam is that the battery life is directly corresponded to its use case, so the number of times the camera is triggered. Now, if you are placing it outdoors where there may be less activation events, you can certainly get a more extensive life with it. But when placing it indoors where there's a lot more potential for activation and triggers, then you're going to have a shorter lifespan. Now, in order to extend your battery life, Nooie is planning to offer more accessories, so there is eventually going to be a solar panel as well as an extension power cord to help keep your battery powered. Now, in the meantime, there is the option to either periodically charge it via the included USB cable, as well as simply to plug that USB cable into something like a wall adapter if you are placing it somewhere like your home. Overall, you just need to keep in count your placement and the activity of that placement overall. But for the most part, the Nooie Pro Cam does have a good battery life, especially when placed outdoors. So let's first off talk about the Nooie Pro Cam indoors and why you might choose it over Nooie's 360 cam or their newest 360 cam. Now, the thing to keep in mind is the greatest strength of the Pro Cam is the fact that it's wireless, and the compact nature does allow you to place it essentially anywhere. So if you're looking to put it subtly on something like a bookshelf or inside a TV stand where it's not going to be seen, then you can obviously take advantage of the size and battery-free nature. But what about if you're placing it in a more activity-prone area of your home and it's getting a lot of camera triggers? Now, in initial testing, I did set it up at the max detection range with the longest recording time in a high traffic area where people frequently walk past it. Now, in those scenarios, the Pro Cam would usually deplete its battery in 2 to 3 days. Now, obviously, in those areas, you do have the option to keep it powered on and plugged in, and this will extend the battery life. But in less activity-prone areas or where it's going to only get the occasional trigger, then you're going to have the normal battery life. So you do need to keep this in mind when keeping it indoors. Now, there's some other factors to keep in mind. First off, there is infrared night vision or there is the color night vision. Now, if you are operating within the Nooie app, there are 3 spotlight levels, so you can adjust the level of light you need to get proper color night vision within your home. Now, in terms of other factors that affect it, there is still the two-way audio communication. So if you are potentially scaring off an intruder or trying to communicate with someone, you can hear it much more clearly inside. But again, if you're actually trying to use something like the siren or otherwise scare off someone, that may be much more effective when communicating outside. Overall, when using the Nooie Pro Cam indoors, I think the greatest benefit is that you can really place it anywhere and really get a good wide range of your room. Now, on the other hand, a case can be made for the Nooie Pro Cam being more ideal in an outdoor setting. This is not only in the flexible mounting nature of it based off the magnetic base stand, as well as the swiveling magnetic base stand that allows you to adjust the viewing angle. Now, there are some other features that help complement this. There is an IP65 waterproofing to the Nooie Pro Cam, as well as some fire resilience. So I've dealt with it being placed outside during a heat wave where it's handled higher temperatures above 90 degrees, as well as dealt with influxing storms with heavy downpour. Now, in terms of other outdoor features with the Pro Cam, there are some things to keep in mind. It does have an 8x digital zoom, so if you're trying to view something from afar, you can take advantage of this live in the Nooie app. Now, there is also a siren that probably you would utilize more outside, but it has more of a chime-like sound, so if you're trying to possibly deter an invader, you may end up confusing them more than anything. But overall, if you combine this with the spotlight and two-way audio, you have multiple ways to potentially ward off someone coming onto your home or your property in general. Now, in terms of downsides with it, it is strictly 2K when viewed within the app. So if you're accessing the camera feed, you don't have the option that you have with the Nooie doorbell cam where you could swap between 2K resolution HD. So if you're possibly having a bad connection and you want a lower resolution for just viewing remotely, you don't have this option with the Pro Cam. Now, in terms of outdoor placement, if you are opting to go that route with the Nooie Pro Cam, what is mounting like? Now, as before, Nooie does focus on relatively easy installations. There is a magnetic base stand that attaches to the camera, as well as a wall mount that you can simply slide the magnetic base stand onto. This is secured via 2 screws. Now, as always, Nooie includes some basic hardware for attachment to your home, but I typically install into vinyl siding, so I have to go out and purchase something separately for the depth of my home. Now, once you do have it fixed, it's a relatively easy measure. The magnetic base stand does have some swivel to it, but there's enough resistance that it's not going to move easily. So if you're fixing your camera in the standard position, it will stay there securely. Now, when you do have to charge the Nooie Pro Cam, it is very easy to just pull it away from the magnetic base stand and then bring it in for charging. Overall, it's a very simple process as Nooie intended. You just have to keep in mind some details about your home. Now, once your Nooie Pro Cam has made a detection, let's talk about recording with the camera. Now, by default, it does have a 15-second recording time, but you can also adjust it to a 20-second max recording time. Now, with this, there is some details to keep in mind. Based off the recording length, you're going to have a difference in cooldown between successive recordings. At the 20-second mark, it's typically a minute on average. But if you're doing 15 seconds, it hits somewhere between 30 seconds and a minute. Now, another thing to keep in mind is, what are you going to do about detection? There is an AI algorithm that helps detect humans, so you're not getting a lot of empty space. Now, compared to the Nooie doorbell cam, I do think Nooie has made an improvement because I got a lot less empty recordings of just outside environments. Overall, there was better detection. Now, what you're going to need to keep in mind is you can make this even better by setting an appropriate detection zone as well as adjusting your detection distance. Now, you can overall figure this out by viewing your recordings and seeing exactly what the Nooie Pro Cam is picking up. Now, also keep in mind these settings are going to indirectly affect your battery life. So depending on how much you want to optimize battery optimization, you'll want to keep these factors in mind. With this in mind, let's start talking more about some of the Nooie app features, especially if you have multiple cams. Now, Nooie has introduced a multi-stream view so you can view multiple cameras at once. Now, not only this, but you can also factor in what cameras are enabled or disabled for this view, so you can customize based off what cameras you want to view at a given time. Now, this is relatively easy to use and you can view it either vertically or horizontally based off your needs. With this in mind, there are some things you do need to keep in mind about your footage. Nooie has not introduced an easy way to download your footage. Like before, you're either going to have to take a photo from within the app using its icons or record the actual live recording. Now, there is also the option, if you do have an SD card included in the base station, to go and review your footage manually and pull it from there. You can use whichever is more convenient for you. Now, let's talk a little bit about using purely local storage via an SD card versus subscribing to Nooie Cloud. As before, Nooie Cloud does have a very reasonable subscription rate, with it starting as low as $1, but you can also completely opt into local SD-based storage. Now, with Nooie Cloud, what are some advantages that you would want to take advantage of? First off, you can view some actual proper thumbnails. So if you're trying to review footage on the stream, you can actually get a good idea of what it is by the thumbnail versus a generic Nooie thumbnail. So if you're not being entirely responsive to every single notification of events that occur via the Nooie app, this can make it easier to review footage. Now, another thing that Nooie Cloud has introduced is Nooie Day, which is a quick time lapse of your day. Overall, it's very good, but there is some nuance to it. You can't engage with it as much or download it. So if you're wanting to save a quick summary of your day for something lighthearted and more fun, you don't really have that option unless you're using something like a screen recorder or otherwise. Overall, Nooie Cloud versus Nooie's local storage options are completely up to you, and both do provide a valuable way to back up your footage. So let's talk about third-party control with Nooie. Now, it does support both Alexa and Google Home. In previous testing, I've used Alexa with Nooie, so the Nooie skill was already there. So when adding new cams to the Nooie app, they were automatically integrated with Alexa. Now, as before, you can simply view a camera by having Alexa view the camera's specific name. Now, with the introduction of the new base station, I have noticed there is less delay when pulling them up via Alexa than before when I tested out the Nooie doorbell cam. Overall, it's a very simple way to view your cameras remotely, so if you are looking for that third-party control or a quick way to access your cameras without the Nooie app, this is very easy to take advantage of. So the question is, should you purchase the Nooie Pro Cam? Now, its biggest strength is in its compact size, as well as its flexible placement, and you also do have the all-in-one nature with the 2K resolution, the magnetic mount, as well as the spotlight. But with this do come some bugs and overall imperfections. Now, if you are looking to have a wireless cam that doesn't have a lot of maintenance or upkeep, the Nooie Pro Cam does offer that. But if you're after something like continuous recording or no gaps in your security, there is a small trade-off with the Nooie Pro Cam. Overall, what you're going to need to consider is your home use case. Overall, the Nooie Pro Cam offers a lot and allows you to flexibly adjust it for changing needs. But if you're looking for more of a fixed security camera that will always work and you won't have any gaps in footage or recording, this may not be the one for you. A big thanks to Nooie for providing the Nooie Pro Cam testing unit. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below, and like and subscribe if you enjoy this style of content. And as always, head over to makeuseof.com for our in-depth written review on the Nooie Pro Cam.